Azure Storage. What is Azure Storage? As per the definition, Azure Storage account is the cloud-based storage solution that provide high availability, secure, and scalable storage for a variety of data types, include blob, file, queues, tables, disks, all accessible over the HTTP and HTTPS. What exactly definition means? Definitions explain, or we can say Azure Storage says that this is the cloud base. Whatever you want to store, you will store it in the cloud, right? So that storage is in the Microsoft storage, and this is the different type of the files you store in their storage. So for a specific file, there is specific type of storage is available. For example, we have a five type of the Azure storage available. In this slide, you can see there is the first is blob storage, then file storage, queue storage, table storage, and disk storage. Right. So blob storage is used to store if you want to store unstructured data. What is unstructured data? Unstructured data means if you want to store documents, image, and video, then we can use the blob storage. Right. Whereas the file storage is the by which you want to store any file, right? And or in cloud or on-prem. On-prem and cloud is something if you want to store in on your own server, that is a on-prem use, right? Whereas the cloud storage means you want to store in the cloud server side. Now queue storage is the messaging between the applications that is used to store. Table storage, that is no SQL key value we want to store, then we use the table storage. Disk storage is used for the virtual machine. If you want to store a VM, at that time we use disk storage. Disk storage is if completely VM you want to take the backup, at that time we use disk storage. So these are the five types of storage available in the Azure storage. Now, it provides a unique namespace in Azure for your data, manage access control, replication, performance tier, and security feature. Now, each word in this manage, access control, replication, and performance tier and security has a different meaning. For example, manage access control means how we will manage your data, right? Means who can access, where from where he can access. Replication means if you want to store your data and you don't want that it will be means any disaster come or like if any uh, data center shut down at that time, also you want your data be up at that time we use the replication thing. The performance tier is something if you are getting lots of hit on your data, at that time you need your performance. Like for any festival season, and at that time your site or your space or where you store something which is hitting by the user lots of time, at that time we use the performance tier. This is the like hot tier, cold tier. This is a depend upon your requirement. We use the tiers. N- And last is the security feature. Security feature means who can access, how can access, and what type of the security is available, like read access or read and write access. So these are the things are the feature of Azure storage. Now you can use Azure Storage account to store uploaded image in the blob storage. This is something which we were talking already. In the blob storage, you can use to upload your file. Store use profile picture in the separate container. If you want to store your profile picture in separate container, then we can use Azure file to host configuration file. Azure file to host your configuration file means in the file Azure file is used to if you have a application and you want to store your host configuration file, then we use the Azure File Storage, right? Whereas the queue storage is used to queue to handle asynchronous tasks like image processing, right? Image processing are we use at the time we use asynchronous queues. Whereas table storage is used to store metadata like upload timestamp or tag. So these are the things are different types. Here you can see service purpose and example of use cases. Blob storage. Blob store large binary file and example is image, video and backup. This is the use for the blob storage. Whereas the file is used to share the file with the SMB, NFS, and here we are telling about the file share between the VMs. File share is like, for example, I told you that the configuration file we want to store, then we use the file storage. Queue storage is the message queue for the communication. If uh, two or more API are hitting and you want that what is the result we are getting, then we use the queue storage. For example, job processing pipeline means during the pipeline processing you want the communication between the two processes, right? So we use the queue processing. Table storage, no SQL key value store, storing user performance, user preference or metadata, where you use the table storage. Disk storage, I already told you VM, like manage disk for VM, OS and data disk.